welcome. I'm Kritika Saxena. I have with me today a very special guest. We've been talking over the last few months about artificial intelligence, virtual reality, cloud. And here's a company that has pioneered the entire cloud market over the last few years. The growth, even recently, in terms of earnings, has been quite significant. We have with us Shantanu Narayen, the President and CEO of Adobe. Thank you so much, Shantanu. This is your second you've come on CNBC several times. I do. It's always a pleasure to be back, Kritika. Thanks for having me. Pleasure always. I'm going to start by asking you, in 2015 when we met, I remember you had said that India and emerging geographies will be the next evolution platform for most tech companies. In the last 1.5 years, what has the experience been? Where is India now as things stand in Adobe's global footprint?
Well, I think it continues to play a very important role in two meaningful ways. The first is the talent and the skill set that exists here in India. And so we're a product company, we're an innovation company, and you look for the best people all around the world. And so I think our engineering organization here continues to have an impact. But I think also, you know, the big movement that we see is consumer expectations that are changing. And clearly the biggest revolution that's happened is the mobile revolution. And India is, again, leading the mobile revolution in terms of it being the preeminent platform for dealing with digital. And so I think, you know, we're always, if you can address the needs of customers who are the most advanced or the most have the most insight, then, you know, we're doing something right.
Okay. You know, I'm going to start first by asking you about a broader question, then we'll get India specific. About 5 years ago, we used to say that India is still behind in digital revolution, about how the technology starts with Korea, Japan, USA, Western Europe, and then finally penetrates into India. Do you believe that has changed now?
You know, we were here in December for my niece's wedding, and you know, as part of that, the entire family went to Ranthambore, which was this amazing vacation, and everything that I did there was digital.
Really?
Yes, well, in terms of getting your the airline tickets and everything that we did with respect to the airlines. And so, you know, I think you're interfacing with companies and what you do, whether it's social, whether it's on business, whether it's for pleasure, you know, that's where the entire revolution is happening, and India is no exception.
So India is ready to grab onto the global digital revolution, you know, be it 5G, be it artificial intelligence, be it virtual reality, on a very customer-to-customer basis?
I think so. I mean, when we look at, you know, what is happening with respect to digital, the first is enterprises interfacing with their customers on digital. That's certainly happening. You know, when you look at what Make My Trip is doing, or Flipkart with e-commerce, India is clearly one of the leaders in that. Then you look at entertainment, right? I mean, if people are watching the IPL or if they're watching live sports, chances are, again, you're doing that digitally. So I think the consumer expectations are truly a universal phenomenon, and I think, you know, India is absolutely seizing it. The other area that I would actually highlight is what's happening with Digital India. And, you know, as people are thinking about, you know, what happened with the equivalent of the US Social Security and everybody getting a card or an ID to be able to do interface, what's happening with electronic signatures. So I think that fundamental move to digital is really universal.
Okay. I've been told, and I understand that you can't give specifics in terms of investment, etc. But give us a sense on the expansion. You already have about 5,200 employees in India. 30% of your R&D is done from here. By how much can we see that scaling up, even if you were to take a 3 to 5 year horizon?
What's amazing is every time I come to India, I'm told that, you know, we're running out of facilities and spaces. So I think something must be done right. As you know, we have a massive presence both in you know, Noida, where we started the company, and then after we had this presence in Bangalore, that just continues to grow. But for us, it's never been about, you know, just sheer numbers. It's always been about quality, because, you know, when you look at a software company that's doing product, unlike, you know, a services company, our numbers, I mean, we're, you know, order of magnitude 7 billion in revenue, 65 billion market cap, which would put us, you know, at the forefront of, you know, any tech company in the world, but we're only 16,000 employees. And so for us, it's all about finding the right people, the right skill set, and that's why we've continued to see dramatic growth here in India.
So what's the growth been like? If you could give us a sense, given that the last 2 years have been significant for digital growth in India, how has the growth been, and what's the outlook in the next 2 years?
Well, as long as Adobe continues to grow at the rate at which we are, I think the employee growth, I actually don't have the numbers off the top of my head because that's not how we think about skill set. But if we've doubled our, employee population all around the world, I think we've probably grown faster in India than anywhere else in the world. So hopefully that gives you a sense with the 5,000 number of the kind of growth that we've seen in India.
What about in terms of revenues and the contribution to the entire global pie?
The revenues we don't break out by India, and so I can't give you those numbers. But if you look at actually what's happened with the cloud revenue, we have two large businesses that we report on. We report on digital media and we report on digital marketing. And I think it's fair to say that in digital media, the growth was really happening back in the US and UK because that's when we transformed from the desktop-based business to the cloud-based business. I think what the impact in India has been is that larger enterprises have certainly adopted the enterprise term license agreement in Creative Cloud very successfully. So I think we've been very successful. Now, on the individual side where people are using our products, piracy still continues to be an issue, but the fact that it's more affordable, we are seeing actually more growth than it was in the traditional. So we're hopeful that, as long as media and content becomes important, India is going to just continue to grow.
Okay. You said to me in 2015, I won't ask for a specific number, but I remember you said to me that India has been growing in double digits. Would that be accurate for now and the next few years as well?
The whole company is growing at 20% for the last few years, and so India certainly outpaces that in terms of the growth rate.
Overall global growth rate. Excellent. Okay, so let's talk about digital India. It's been broken down into many parts, be it smart cities, be it Jan Dhan. After demonetization, there has been an increase there. Where does Adobe step in? And how has your experience been in interacting with the government, in partnering with the government? Because there have been criticism, there have been foreign investors pointing out that project placements are slow. We aren't adopting from a government perspective to Digital India as much as foreign investors would have hoped. Do you agree with that?
Well, first, big picture, I think, just to set the context for your viewers, everybody is creating websites. And Adobe is the undisputed leader in creating the web infrastructure for anybody who has a digital business. And so whether it's a government, whether it's an educational institution, or whether it's an enterprise, that's certainly been an area of growth both in India and elsewhere around the world. Electronic signatures. We've talked about how electronic signatures and automating business processes is an important part associated with that. And so I think when you think about Digital India, I think about it in two different ways. The first is that the emphasis that the government is putting on digital and Digital India, it rubs off not just in terms of procurement by the government, but by acceptance of that as a way of dealing with institutions all around the country. And so, that does represent a tailwind for us. And so we're not looking at it just in terms of what is our business with government. We're looking at it as, is that a massive trend that's happening? And again, as I said, the growth rates here have been quite impressive.
And has it picked up in the last 1 year? Government's participation, enterprises' participation in ensuring that digitization is no longer an enterprise-related or segmented issue?
It is, and I know you're looking for sometimes the numbers that sort of, show that momentum and growth. And, I think for financial reasons, while we don't break out the numbers, the momentum has certainly been there in the business. Absolutely.
Okay. And is the government now stepping in terms of increasing the pace? That was an issue, and I remember I discussed this with you back then when Prime Minister had visited Silicon Valley. The issue at that point was that there have been delays, there have been issues with respect to clearances. Has that gotten better over the last few years?
We really haven't seen the impact associated with the delays that you're prescribing. And so, we continue to be impressed with, the pace at which it's happening. It's probably never as fast as enterprises want or consumers want.
Yes.
But, the general momentum seems in the right direction.
Okay. Let's talk about acquisitions then. You recently made a significant acquisition which has increased your overall space as far as the video, television area is concerned. What's next in terms of acquisitions, and how does India fit in? I believe a lot of your players are looking at startups, are looking at niche areas that contribute to the overall global footprint. Are there options here?
We continue to grow, firstly, big picture through both organic innovation as well as inorganic acquisition. And, we're always looking for three things. We're looking for great people, great technology, and the financial statements have to, certainly meet our criteria. TubeMogul was our most recent acquisition. It's trying to deal with the big issue of how do you deliver video on mobile devices and how do you deliver a personalized ad, which we think is going to be an explosive category both here in India as well as around the world. In terms of actually acquiring companies, for some reason, maybe the companies that have been founded in India are not sort of addressing the kinds of needs that we are looking for in terms of where we are expanding. So, I wouldn't say that there are a lot of Indian companies on our radar in terms of software. And maybe that evolution it was services businesses to begin with. Then there was a lot of innovation around the chip sector. There's certainly a lot of innovation around, actual delivering websites and commerce and, things like travel and hospitality. But software companies that help enterprises move their businesses online, we really haven't seen that much innovation or investment in incubating companies in that space.
Okay. You think that, what is the reason for that?
Well, I think everybody looks at where the big picture opportunities are. And if right now everybody looks at it and says, let's create a website that actually is the service. And if that's where the revenue opportunity is, I mean, all great entrepreneurs both have an idea and they look at where the current opportunity is. And so I think they're, skating to where the money is right now rather than maybe thinking about, what happens a decade down the line.
Okay. So for our viewers that are watching, be it enterprise, be it normal customers, Gen Next, millennials, that a lot of your technology will be relevant to. What is the next big thing that will hit the market that will be relevant for India in the next 1 year?
Well, first, I think just to even put it in perspective, there isn't a piece of content that the viewers are probably watching that hopefully wasn't touched by a piece of Adobe software. I mean, we created desktop publishing. We've created this mobile app revolution. We're helping contribute to that content. You pointed out when things are happening in 3D or augmented reality or virtual reality, there's some piece of Adobe software that's actually being used to do that. I think the big emphasis for Adobe right now is in artificial intelligence and machine learning, and how do you take the confluence of what's happening with content creation and data and that intelligence and marry that together to deliver a better experience. And the irony of that actually sometimes for the customers is they actually don't even know that that's happening behind the scenes. It just feels like, that was a content for me, that was relevant, that was personalized, that was appropriate. And when that magic happens, the irony is it may not even stand out because it just feels so natural.
Do you feel that, for instance, Adobe is something that every single professional will know. So it's a brand which is synonymous to most enterprises. But when it comes to customers, I mean, for instance, my 25-year-old sister who uses selfie videos on a regular basis would know Snapchat, would know the end result, but doesn't really know the Adobe angle. Is there something being done to change that?
Well, hopefully every one of them who's doing something digitally is aware of Photoshop and is aware of the influence that Photoshop has had on the world. They're hopefully aware of PDF.
There's so much more than Photoshop on PDF.
There is. One product that I'm particularly excited about right now is a product called Adobe Spark. And Adobe Spark is something which is rolling out. And the whole idea behind Adobe Spark is everybody has a story to tell.
Okay.
And they all want to tell that story digitally. And it is by far the easiest piece of software if you want to tell a story, whether it's in video or whether it's in a presentation format on the web, to get going quickly and express yourself. And our vision is the tools shouldn't come in the way of storytelling. And so I think Spark is one of those products that has the potential to completely change K through 12 and education, which is an area we're particularly passionate about, because if you start off with kids and it comes naturally to them and they can do that, to your point about, you know, getting viral adoption, then I think we'll see explosive growth.